It begins on a quiet morning, the kind where the air feels still and the sky is just beginning to lighten with the first signs of dawn. You wake before the sun, maybe out of habit, maybe because sleep no longer keeps its rhythm the way it once did. There's no alarm clock, no email waiting, no commute that needs to start. Only the soft sound of your breath and the hum of a world slowly coming to life outside. You sit with a cup of coffee, watching the faint glow build behind the horizon. For a moment, you feel peace in that quiet, but soon, a subtle emptiness creeps in, the kind that settles like a fog at the edges of the mind. The day ahead stretches wide and open, yet somehow it feels too still, almost weightless. No goals pinned to the calendar, no sense of being needed, at least not in the ways you were before. And in that silence, a quiet voice begins to whisper a lie so many of us believe, that when the work ends, so does our purpose. That when the job title fades, so does our value. It's an easy belief to absorb. After decades of being defined by contribution, by tasks completed, deadlines met, and problems solved. But when the noise of work disappears, we are left standing in the quiet, unsure of who we are beyond the doing. It can feel like grief, though few call it that. A subtle mourning for the structure that once shaped our days and the feeling of being needed by others. If you've ever felt that hollow pause, know you are not alone. This stage of life carries its own confusion, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. We were trained for so long to measure worth by productivity that it takes time to see beyond it. But what if that stillness, the very thing that feels so heavy, was never meant to signal an ending? What if it is an invitation, a space wide enough to rediscover meaning, not by returning to what used to be, but by allowing something gentler to unfold? And as the light grows outside, you begin to feel it, not the rush of purpose you used to chase, but a quiet stirring, a sense that something new is waiting to be lived. Not a final chapter, but a beginning, written in slower lines and softer mornings. That is where renewal begins. For most of our adult lives, productivity became the measure of worth. It was stitched into everyday language, being useful, staying busy, earning our keep. We learned to equate long hours with importance and achievement with identity. So when the calendar suddenly emptied, when emails stopped arriving and people stopped asking for help, the silence felt louder than expected. There's a quiet shock that comes after retirement. The phone rings less, not because people forgot you, but because routine no longer binds your days together. The structure that once gave shape to mornings and evenings dissolves, replaced by long blank spaces. And though those hours are technically free, they can also feel aimless, like the world kept spinning, but your part in it slips slightly out of view. Many describe it as becoming invisible. The world no longer sees what you do, and so you start doubting who you are. After all, for decades, you were the provider, the manager, the teacher, the guide. Now, the mirror reflects an unfamiliar version of you, one not defined by a title, but by presence alone, and that can be disorienting, even painful. But here's a truth we often overlook. The need to feel purposeful never leaves. It is as essential as breath. Only the shape of that purpose changes. Our contributions evolve from productivity to presence, from output to meaning. I think of David, who once shared this reflection. At 67, he admitted he missed the rhythm of being useful. He missed the hum of other people depending on him, the structure that lent each day its quiet importance. Until one morning, while helping his granddaughter plant her first garden, something shifted. As he guided her small hands into the soil, showing her how to press the roots gently into place, he realized that purpose had not disappeared. It had merely changed form. It had softened, but not faded. In her laughter, in their conversation, In the exchange of patience and curiosity, he found the same fulfillment that years of work had brought him, only gentler and freer. That is what purpose looks like when it matures. It stops demanding motion. It becomes a presence that nourishes rather than proves. We still build. We still care. We still create meaning, but through presence, not performance. You might feel it when you teach someone a skill you once mastered, when you share a meal with an old friend, offering a listening ear without hurry, when you tend a plant, repair a small thing around the house, or help a neighbor who cannot lift something on their own. These moments may seem small, but within them lives the same spirit of contribution, the same flow of connection that once defined entire careers. Think of life as a river. For many years, the current raced through familiar channels of work and effort. And then, at retirement, that current suddenly seemed to stop. But a river never truly stops. It only finds new ground. It spreads, reorganizes, carves fresh paths in quieter directions. The same water, the same life force continues, just no longer rushing, now nourishing. When you begin to see your days through that lens, the emptiness begins to soften. You realize that meaning was never locked inside your career or title. It was flowing through your kindness, your curiosity, your ability to create and connect. Work simply gave it form for a time. Now there is space for purpose to become more personal, less about achievement, more about being awake to the moment you're in. Purpose can live in sharing a story, in mentoring gently, in caring deeply, or simply noticing beauty where others might rush past. It is a quieter rhythm, but one that runs deep. So when the mornings come and that familiar silence greets you again, remember what that stillness truly is. It's not the absence of purpose, it's peace, clearing the space for something new. And in that quiet, a whole new chapter waits to unfold, one guided not by productivity, but by the fullness of being alive. Take a slow, easy breath. Let the air fill your lungs, then drift away again. This breath is more than a pause. It is a reminder. Each inhale marks the present moment, and each exhale clears space for what comes next. That is where renewal begins. Not in planning the future, but in allowing this moment to feel enough. What if each day, beginning now, you greeted the morning without expectation? No list, no rush, no need to prove. Simply notice what feels alive in you today. Perhaps it's the warmth of sunlight touching the kitchen counter. Perhaps the quiet sparkle of dew on the lawn. Purpose often hides in the smallest places, waiting patiently to be noticed. When you notice them, you are not wasting time. You are opening yourself to life again. This awareness can become a gentle daily practice. Choose one moment each day that feels meaningful, however ordinary it seems. It could be brewing tea and listening to the faint hum of the house awakening. It could be the way a breeze moves through your garden, carrying the scent of soil and memory. It could be reaching out to someone who might need your presence more than advice. Each of these acts tells your heart, I am still connected. And in that connection, purpose quietly returns. So much of the old world convinced us that purpose came from doing more, from expansion, growth, constant activity. Yet as we grow older, purpose softens. It no longer demands evidence. It simply asks that we live attentively and keep our hearts open to what matters now. When you guide a neighbor through a small task, when you share the stories that once shaped you, when you tend to your plants or write a few lines in a notebook, you are still contributing, still building meaning, not by producing, but by being present. Reframing purpose as presence transforms everything. Presence is quieter than ambition, yet it reaches further. It ripples through conversations and moments long after they end. People remember not the tasks you completed, but the calm and care you offered while doing them. That is the kind of impact retirement allows: the slow kind, the steady kind, the one that nourishes rather than exhausts. And if doubt visits you, as it sometimes will, return to your breath. Remember that the strength that once carried you through long days of work still lives inside you. It is simply redirected now, from striving towards something distant to deepening into what is already here. Purpose never retired, it merely changed its language. What once spoke in deadlines now speaks in gratitude, in laughter, in quiet companionship. Your worth was never written in paychecks or titles. It was written in your kindness, your curiosity, your willingness to show up again and again with an open heart. This is your second sunrise, an awakening not to what must be achieved, but to what can be cherished. So as the day unfolds, take another slow breath. Smile at the life still expanding around you. There is so much more for you to give, and so much more for you to receive. If this reflection brought you peace, subscribe and carry this calm into your day.